Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. This is the 21st discourse in the series on wisdom-based metta. Last time we spoke about a gatha which the Buddha enunciated to a deva, to a certain divine being. The gatha said, Anto jata bahi jata jataya jatita paja. There is tangle within and there is tangle without in the external world. Jataya jatita. The entire mankind, praja, is completely entangled with the entanglement of raga, dvesa, moha, or lobha, dvesa, moha, meaning greed, hatred, and delusion. It is the greed, hatred, and delusion that brings about all involvement in life, because these three are the roots, mula. Akusala mula it is called, the roots of all evil action. Now, the Buddha, immediately after the Deva asked him, Ko imang vijataye jatang? O Gautama, Lord Gautama, please tell us, who is going to disentangle himself or herself of all these entanglements that entangle like a network the entire universe, the entire mankind, in all kinds of ways. So, who is going to disentangle or get disentangled? So the Buddha in reply said, Sile patithaya naro sapanyo. Sapanyo means a person who is born intelligent, with a high IQ. So an intelligent person, knowing the value of moral purity or moral purification through moral conduct, now establishes himself or herself on the path of moral purity, moral purification. So lives a life of pure morality, undertakes at least the very minimum of 5 precepts, and brings about a moral refinement within. And this way, having undertaken this kind of moral refinement, the person also undertakes to practice meditation, and thereby purifies the mind all the time and develops the great potentials of the mind. The mind is capable of great things indeed. It is through mind that one can become an enlightened person or remain in the abysmal darkness of ignorance and delusion. It's up to the person's mind. It's the mind that decides, that determines whether one progresses onwards towards light or towards darkness. So having established oneself an intelligent person, knowing the benefit and the good, the potency, the good potency of moral life and the good potency of development of mind itself, and together with that, development of all the potentials of mind. which can bring about a complete transformation of life, leading to Nibbana, to an attainment of spiritual freedom. Reaching that dimension of freedom by which one enjoys eternal peace and bliss. Santi padang nibbanam, nibbanam paramang sukham. The highest happiness, most enduring, blissful life that you can think of. So, having undertaken these two disciplines, one on the moral, the discipline and development of morality, the discipline and development of mind, and then cap it up with development of wisdom, intuitive insight into reality. Wisdom alone intuitively experiences the reality, not merely knowledge. Wisdom has a content of knowledge, there is no question about that. But then, knowledge per se, by itself, can be abused, misused. And in fact, all the ills of life, all the sufferings that we see all around the world, everywhere, arises from knowledge. It is the materialistic pursuit created by knowledge that brings all the trouble in the world. It is through knowledge that we create war. It is through knowledge that we break all the spiritual values and principles and justify the breaking of all this. So, mere knowledge is not enough, but knowledge that grows into wisdom. That kind of knowledge that penetrates into the reality of everything that we do, everything that we say, and everything that we think. Now, to be guided by such a knowledge, such a wisdom, or wisdom knowledge, vipassana, once we are guided by that, it is then that we are able to disentangle ourselves totally and bring about freedom of mind. So when Bhagavan Buddha said this, the Deva exalted himself. Inspired, he bowed down before the Lord and disappeared. Now, these three, in the Gatha it is also said, Atapi nipako bhikkhu, so imang vijataye jatam. That holy man, bhikkhu, who practices these threefold disciplines of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, or rather Metta-based Sila, Samadhi and Panya, and thereby fulfills the Noble Eightfold Path, it is he who disentangles. When all these three principles, their modes of development, are assiduously, atapi, energetically and vigorously put into action in day-to-day life. And when all these three modes of training and development becomes a mode of spiritual evolution, the result of which can be seen here and now in the form of nepakkam, means ripeness, spiritual ripeness here and now. Spiritual maturity. It is that which brings about freedom of mind. Cheto vimukti, freedom through wisdom, panya vimukti. So, this Gatha summarizes all that the Buddha taught throughout his 45 years of compassionate mission of compassion. I will give you an instance how this principle was applied by all those who seriously took to the life of guided by Noble Eightfold Path. We'll take the example of Venerable Rahula, this 7-year-old novice monk whom the Buddha. Now, here we go into the details, a little bit of the biographical details, which will be useful. Lord Buddha, when he left home on the night, just before leaving home, in the midnight, he saw the mother of Rahula sleeping and the little baby Rahula by her side. He did not want to disturb the mother or the child, but said that once I have realized the ultimate purpose of life, by realizing the ultimate truth about life, life is fraught with all kinds of sufferings. The rich man suffers exactly because of his richness. The poor man suffers exactly because of his poverty. The power-hungry politician suffers because of that power. Whatever a person craves for becomes the source of suffering. The young student, very, very serious about study and land a good job and then raise a good family and so on. Normal desire, normal aim of every young person, young man or woman. Now this intense desire to get educated, to land a good job and then raise a family. What does it mean? Craving, craving, craving. But that is the way of life. You can't change it. Unless you do that, you can't live also. Because all your livelihood depends upon your education and job. Yet, when appropriately spiritually conditioned, a good devotee of Buddha, upasaka, upasika, can turn this very, very normal practice of getting an education and then landing a good job and then raising a family. This very natural, normal process can be spiritualized by introducing the guiding, the Noble Eightfold Path as the guiding philosophy of life, which is called Dhamma. Dhamma, a person's guiding principle, guiding philosophy of life. It must be such that guides everything that we do, say or think. In other words, all the karmas in three different modes or dwara, doors. Karma by way of mental action, karma by way of physical bodily action, karma by way of verbal action. So, these three modes ultimately bring about the either going upwards or downwards. Either you bring about spiritual maturity and gain the highest goal of life, Nibbana, or you degenerate more and more, and before you pass away, it is with a miserable mind that you fill with fear, anxiety, and all that sort of thing. You pass away and get into another form of life which is lower than where you are now. Rebirth is brought about by karma, by the threefold karmas. You cannot avoid action so long you are born in this world. So it is up to the wisdom of the person that will make use of action itself into a noble eightfold path or into an ignoble path leading to suffering and misery, here and now and hereafter. It's as simple as that. So now, Lord Buddha, I was telling you about a little bit of detail, biographical detail of Buddha. Buddha said this to before he left home, and after 6 years of tremendous struggle and spiritual struggle, going through all kinds of all the extremes, and then at last becoming enlightened and realizing the ultimate truth and becoming a Buddha who has climbed onto the summit of spiritual perfection, the supremely enlightened one, who is not only liberated himself and enlightened therefore, but is capable of liberating others, enlightening others. So he became the Buddha. The first thing he did, in the very first year he visited Kapilavatthu, and kept his word. Some misguided critic says, oh, Buddha left home irresponsibly. Nonsense. It was with a definite aim to discover the key to ultimate peace and happiness. That is why he left. It was not due to he didn't run away from home and become a monk. He had a definite aim to discover the ultimate truth, the Four Noble Truths. What is the nature of life? Life seems so wonderful. I was telling you, a young man or a woman goes and gets educated, and what is he doing? With all that knowledge, he must land a job somehow. And what does it involve, this job? The job is meant for tummy. It's a tummy education. That's all that you get. And that job brings all kinds of responsibilities. You raise a family, you have children, you have this, you have social and other involvements, political involvements, economic involvements. And then their life is fully entangled, and you can't blame anybody for that. That is the way of life everywhere. And it is justified to be the normal way of life. What does this normality mean? It simply means entanglement. More involved karma, because it is rooted in craving. So when the Buddha discovered the ultimate truth, the Four Noble Truths, he discovered the ultimate nature of life and the world around. He discovered that ultimately everything changes in the world. Everything is impermanent. And impermanence should be understood in two ways. One, conceptually, and that is self-evident. You can see everywhere everything is changing. You can see the seasons change. Now the winter has come and all the leaves of the trees will fall. And then there will be summer season, and the trees again bring about, you see, blossoms. So, and one sees in one's own family, dear ones and near ones pass away. Things change constantly. So this is a conceptual, indirect experience of the reality of impermanence. That is not enough. Why? Because you know everything is changing, yet you can't get out of the greed. Yet you cannot get out of having a big bank balance, thinking that, I'm going to be permanently happy. I have this much of money. And money means everything. No, that's not true. You don't carry the bank balance with you when you go. You don't carry with you all the big family that you have raised, the name and fame and the power you have generated. Nothing goes with you. You live empty-handed, plain and simple. This thought does not arise in spite of all your knowledge of impermanence. Aniccham, aniccham, aniccham. So, we know this conceptually, aniccham, anityam, asashvatam. Everything is impermanent, therefore unstable. And whatever is unstable, basically unsatisfactory. And that is the nature of the world. You can never predict what is going to happen. In 5 minutes, you may go, but you don't know that. It's unpredictable. So this unpredictable world of impermanence is one nature that one must probe into, one must directly realize, and that is wisdom. Knowledge doesn't bring this direct experience. Knowledge gives an indirect experience, conceptually, with inferential knowledge, intellectual knowledge, and yet you can't get out of your lobha, dosa, moha with all that intellectual knowledge. So that kind of knowledge of impermanence is not enough. What is enough is wisdom, which penetrates into the reality of impermanence. If you are keeping Shila, at least the Pancha Shila, you can see the change that comes within yourself. If you practice meditation, you can see how fast the mind works and how unstable it is. And you see again and again the wrong thoughts come during meditation or your puja or whatever it is. And you are oppressed and harassed by your own thoughts, wrong thoughts, you can't get out of it. But if you keep on practicing the Noble Eightfold Path by way of maintaining your sila and your meditation practice and sharpen your mind with vipassana wisdom and knowledge, see through whatever is happening in the world. Everything is changeful, unstable, etc. Therefore not worth getting attached. The moment you get into this frame of mind, wisdom has come within. The need for detachment and dispassion everywhere. Once that comes, that is where knowledge has turned into wisdom. And this wisdom is the Panya part. So Noble Eightfold Path consists of Sila, Samadhi, Panya. All right. Now, when you cultivate and develop fully and perfect these, that becomes the Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada, the path leading to the cessation, end of dukkha. So the first truth the Buddha discovered was everything is that dukkha, unsatisfactory, because everything is unpredictable, changeable, and all that sort of thing. And everything gets into the cyclic, in a cyclic way everything works. In the meditation you can see that. A wrong thought comes, again and again it comes. It oppresses you. That means it becomes a cycle, again and again, again and again. The farmer, again and again in the morning goes and tills the ground. Again and again all the agricultural operations he does throughout the year. And again he produces. Again and again. Everything again and again. The student, again and again you mug up and forget. Now, this again and again is a cyclic thing. It creates a wheel. And a wheel means half the wheel goes up, half the wheel comes down. Dvanda, the two of the opposites of life. When you are well placed, well fed, you are well to do, you also have the opposite of it, loss. If you are earning a lakh of rupees by becoming, let us say, quickly and fast, one of these this computer, experts, they get quickly this big money and quickly they spend off the money. They can't retain. So where there is gain, there is loss. Where there is name, there is ill fame. Where there is health, there is ill health. Where there is so-called happiness, there is also misery. So this changefulness, the wheel of life, once you realize it, you see, ultimately it is unsatisfactory, and that is the noble truth of dukkha. So dukkha is this coming again and again, going again and again, being born again and again, accumulate karma again and again, die again and again, and be reborn again and again. At least this life you know, it is good, I can manage it. Next, what will happen, you don't? So in this unpredictable world, this is dukkha, and the cause of it is craving. I mentioned young people, they have this great dream of good education and good money and good family and be this, be that, and then die. Carry nothing. Now, all this because driven by craving for this, craving for that, craving for... So that is the root cause of dukkha. So Buddha discovered both dukkha as well as the cause of it. And not only that, where the dukkha ends. So, the end of dukkha, cessation of dukkha, is known as nirodha, dukkha nirodha, ariya satya, the noble truth of the cessation of truth. If there is suffering, there is also end of suffering, cessation of suffering, and that is nibbana. Nibbanan paramang sukham. It is not an empty place. It is not a vacuum thing which just where you go and get lost, you don't know where you are. No. It is a state of eternal peace and bliss. Paramang sukham. And Buddha is speaking that from his own experience. The fact that 45 years he has spent in teaching the Four Noble Truths and bringing about enlightenment in countless people, human beings and devas and brahmas, becoming liberated from the bondage, from the entanglement, jataya jatita, entanglement of worldly existence. So now, having said this to Buddha, I was saying, he came back and he taught. Now, Rahula, who was only 7 years old, he goes to his father, a holy man, Buddha, and he says, give me my inheritance. I am going to be a Chakravarti Maharaja, a world-ruling monarch. I need this, I need that. Bhagavan Buddha said nothing. He just gave he had gone for a dana service. He had gone for alms round. He took his food along with his monks. And then he returns back to Nigrodha monastery where he was staying. And then Rahula follows him all the way. The government officials who were there following the Buddha, nobody dared to say anything to that young prince. He goes and says, then Bhagavan says, well, if I give him all the wealth of the world, all that wealth will also go. Nothing, he doesn't get ultimate happiness, he only get more involved, more suffering. Let me give him the best of inheritance, the inheritance of enlightenment, the inheritance of liberation from the entanglements of the world. So he told Sariputta, Bhante, Sariputta, make him a monk, a novice monk, and that is how he became. Of course, later on the grandfather of the prince comes and says, Bhagavan, before you give a child, please give us this boon, that let the parents' consent be taken. Buddha granted that right there. And then, when Buddha returned with Rahula. So Rahula went and stayed with the Buddha in Veluvana monastery in a very secluded, meditation retreat. So one day the Buddha goes there, and Rahula was there. So he wanted to teach the Dhamma to Rahula. 7-year-old young Samanera. It is said that he was so matured and sharp in mind. The example given is that of a thorn. From the very birth, the thorn is sharp and it penetrates. So was the mind of the most venerable Arhat Rahula. So the Buddha says, Rahula, now here I am going to tell you something. Be very mindful and attentive. Before you do anything, say anything, think anything, that is the 3 modes of performing karma. Ask yourself, will it attahitaya bhavishyati, parahitaya bhavishyati, ubhayahitaya bhavishyati kim? You ask yourself this question, will it bring real benefit, hita, benefit, advantage or good or well-being for myself? If I say this, if I do this, if I think this, will it do me any good? Will it bring my good? Or will it bring the good of the others, parahitaya? Or will it bring the good of both, attahitaya, parahitaya? Let this be the guiding principle of your life, Rahula, Bhagavan said. So Rahula accepted and said, yes, Bhagavan, yes, Bhante, I will do that. Then he says, not only before you commit, my dear, but during the performance of a karma, of an action, whether you are doing or saying or thinking, during that time also ask yourself, well, I am doing this now. And will it bring my own well-being, my own good, others' good, and good of all? Think that. If you think that yes, it will bring good to all, then do it. Not only that, further, when you have finished doing something or saying something or thinking something, again recall what you have thought, what you have said, what you have done, and think out once again, well, what I said, what I thought, what I said or what I did, was it for my own good or others' good and good of all, or was it not? Think this once again, and think with insight, with perfect honesty. Now, when you think it is going to do that, then you have done the right thing. Now you have the right principle or right philosophy as to guide your life. This is the philosophy, guiding philosophy of your life. That is, be mindful. Mindful about what? Whatever you say, do good and all that, but with a guiding philosophy. The philosophy is whether it will do me good, do others good, do the whole world good. Now this philosophy is the center, the very central core of Metta Bhavana. That is exactly what Metta seeks to do. Doing oneself good, doing others good, and doing everybody's good. Now this can happen fully only when the metta is wisdom-based, not a blind emotional outburst, nothing. Oh, let it be my good, let it somebody's good, everybody good and all that. No. It must be well thought out, well mentally, well motivated. May this bring happiness to me and to others and to everybody. So, wisdom brings about such a maturity that everything that you say or do or think becomes wisdom-based, and therefore wisdom-based metta, universal love. Now that is the subject of the discourse today. I will go further on the same theme in the next discourse. May the grace, the blessings of Lord Buddha, his Dhamma and Sangha surround your lives with wisdom and abundant metta. May you all be happy. Sukhino bhavantu.